was I'm going to start recording just because I realize this is one of those kinds of conversations that I would like to just post unedited on YouTube to kind of explain and also to have to listen to later. Anyways, but with the Karlak campaign done and concluded and done all that stuff, I realized, okay, I need a filler op. So I started doing a Bass Reeves op. That's a long fucking story. It's a weird inside joke based on a thing, based on another thing, based on a YouTube fucking documentary I watched by a guy named Noodle about a thing that never happened. And I found the music on Bandcamp and I bought it so I could use it because I love the music that they had gotten done. But I wanted to use it in an op. So the objective was make an op about this obscure guy and make it kind of a funny, silly bit and use this cool music that I'm excited to use and do all that stuff with, right? That was the objective. The goal was make a sort of op inspired by that Western historical figure, Bass Reeves, that whole experience, and get to use the music and do some fun stuff with it. So I started making fucking Nevada for some reason because, it's Western. I had to do something with that, yada, yada, yada. And I started working on it. And at this point in time, I was making stuff and I'd gotten maybe partially done with this little town and I started making the stuff or whatever. And I was hanging out with Rosary and she was chilling and she offered and said, hey, do you have any, do you need help with anything? And that's a really fucking annoying question, right? No offense to Rosary, but I'm very bad at asking for help. And I recognize that as a flaw of mine, but I'm also very bad at accepting help. I'm very bad at, and there's a reason for that, right? Because I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what I have in mind. A part of the joy of getting to make things like this is to go, ooh, I know what to do, and just do that and kind of improvise and have fun with that process. And it's difficult to accept help on a creative project because you don't know what you're doing yet. And a lot of the fulfillment you get out of making things is figuring that out and answering that question. And so it can be very challenging up until more recently where I've realized I have this problem and I'm trying to work on it, but to accept help. And the only way to truly get help on something like you're making a mission project that requires a metric fuck ton of manual decisions and little choices and little problems you have to solve. How the fuck do I make an archway? Okay, well, I'm going to take this archway, I'm going to flip it upside down, scale it up, apply cut, blah, 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 all that stuff. That's the bread and butter of this whole experience is you're making something. And so it's very intimidating to offer up those decisions to other people because you're worried about, okay, well, it's not going to be what I have in mind. But when Rosary asked me while I was making this area, do you need help? I had a tired, raggedy exhale of air, and I realized, shit, I do need help. Fuck. And at that point in time, I realized I need help with things, and I need to also actually try and accept help. And I said, okay. And I remembered the merge mission feature, which lets you pull in things from other stuff. And so we decided to start experimenting with it. Operation Lamen was a stupid shit post with some goals I had in mind. My process was still not good at this point. But the ideas were make an op themed around this thing, kind of have some fun with it, make it a Western, implement the music you wanted to use, do some little dialogue tidbits here and there, etc. And I realized an important lesson with this. I, at this point, had already kind of made a decent chunk of this city. I won't say most, but I had decided what a lot of the props were going to be already. And she said, do you need help with something? And I went, fuck. How do I articulate what I'm even planning to do? Okay, well, I'm going to have a pipe thing. It's not there yet. We're in this area of the map. This is a fueling city. There's a big pipe leaded to our thing. The pipe will go kind of over here eventually, and there will be a fueling station. I am going to place the pipes. Mind you, there is no rocks down yet. It's just this town and a couple rocks over here. I'm placing some pipes. Can you make a fueling station and kind of mimic stuff? Because I don't remember the specific conversation or the specifics of the combo, rather. But she asked, what would you like me to do? Fuck, how do I answer that? I don't know yet. I'm improvising. I'm still figuring that out as I go because that, at that point, is my process. Kind of feel it out, vibe it out, whatever, do some shit, whatever. Fuck. Okay, well, I know I'm going to do a fueling station. And that was where I had the realization, the difficult realization of I need to be willing to surrender the creative control to another person and to accept that, and not just accept it reluctantly, but embrace that. because this composition that Rosary made, using the inspiration of what I had already kind of done, and taking those ideas and those assets and remixing them and flipping them around and doing stuff, she made a really nice fucking little fueling station. And it works fucking perfectly. And I didn't know what the fueling station was going to be. She figured that out, and because I had already done a little bit of legwork, she had an easier time incorporating it, and that is partially because I had some stuff done already, but mainly because I didn't restrict her at all. I just said, dude, I don't have a fucking plan. It's a fueling station. And then just let her kind of figure it out by doing it. And that's what she's focusing on now and stuff. And that made this op much easier, because then, okay, fuck, dude, that's actually looking cool. And then you can work off each other and you're inspired and you're both doing stuff. And so that's what we're doing. Oh shit, okay. And that accelerates the process. Not only because you're more inspired by working and collaborating, but also because literally we are doing twice as much work at the same time. This op took, probably maybe 10 or 12 or 14 hours or something. I don't fully remember. But we were able to do that way quicker than if I had done it by myself. And I made the choice to compromise creative control to another person out of initially what was necessity. But I realized in hindsight that I need to embrace that. And that was the lesson learned, right? And now it's, okay, let's collaborate, not because I have to, but because that makes the experience much better. And the lesson from this is I didn't have fucking specifics planned out. And a part of what makes accepting help difficult is worrying about not being able to realize whatever you have in mind and not being able to see that vision come to fruition. But as long as I can kind of get a gist of the overall goal of the mission, I think I'm okay to fucking let people make some shit, because that's more fun too, right? What's a cooler time? One guy with 10 beers or 10 guys with a beer, you know? Let's all sit down and make some shit, right? So, the end result of the Bass Reeves op, this stupid dumbass shitpost, is failing upwards, because it was in the story part a failure, and partially in the mission aspect a failure. And that is partially due to planning. There was no planning. I said I'll use all this space. I didn't consider what I was going to put in the space ahead of time, and I just improvised some shit. And by the time we got to the final location, we were, both Rosary and I, despite working together on this stuff, we're both too tired and too short of time to actually do a proper conclusion to the maybe kind of story that I've kind of thought I maybe would have had sort of figured out, but I didn't specifically. There's a random CIS fob. This did not get seen by anyone pretty much at the actual op. This whole area was going to be more detailed. We just did random dead trees and made it like a burning forest or something because it was cool. Lots of compromises were made because there was no preparatory phase. And this was also an opportunity to learn how to just fucking share the burden of creativity with another person, and to do that happily and successfully. And the burden part of easing the burden and accepting help and embracing that help, that was a success. That was the most important victory of this mission. The story did not fucking happen. That was some bullshit we improvised. I didn't get to do the Bass Reeves storyline I wanted because I didn't fucking write it ahead of time. I just hoped I would have enough time to figure that part out when I got there. And that is not how I want to keep doing that shit. I didn't get to use the fucking licensed Bass Reeves music that I purchased off of Bandcamp from the original person who RJ Lake, I think? Yes, RJ Lake. There's a bunch of cool fucking music that I was gonna bring in the mission files. I was gonna use that shit. It was gonna be awesome, but I didn't get to use that because I'm stupid and I didn't plan. So I learned a good lesson, an important lesson, and then I failed on every other count. But I got to fail with a person, and I got to collaborate, and I learned, oh fuck, this is something I can do, and this is also something that I know how to do it now. Was we figured out merge mission. I'd never tried that before, and we realized it, and that was the, oh fuck, we can actually have multiple people making the same thing. So you know how earlier I said the burden of mission making it's a creative burden, right? But it's self-inflicted, right? But it's one person who has to be Atlas, the guy holding the fucking world on his shoulders for a week, and then he gets a break, or he doesn't, or he does it another week, or you have rotations, or you take shifts. When I was running the 222nd, and that was my own like Star Wars unit, I was taking shifts with that shit. I had another person working with me who was also very talented and good at the mission stuff and whatnot, but we were both just being burdened and weighed down by all this bullshit once a week, which wasn't sustainable. We weren't helping with each other and we weren't collaborating, but that's because we both had a lot of pride in the stuff we were doing. I am very prideful about the things that I make. I'm very fucking proud. I get jazzed about ideas. I go, this is so fucking cool. This is gonna be so fucking interesting. I'm so excited, because it is, because I am excited, because it's fucking awesome. But it would be cooler to have an experience with multiple people. So the Bass Reeves Op. Learned that lesson, realized it was a possibility that I can collaborate and make things with people, have some fun with that. And I got to taste the pain of, shit, this didn't get to go how I wanted. And that was one of the catalyst moments that led me to start thinking about this whole thing differently. No longer just the solo act of, I can make a cool thing and it's going to be awesome. And now it's like, fuck, I have an idea. I want to tell a story. I didn't get to tell a story, but I learned that I don't have to figure that out on my own. I learned that I can get help from people, and I learned that I'm actually okay with not being able to make every choice and make every decision, right? Because I don't fucking know what I want when I start working on something, and I only get to kind of figure that out by the end of it. No art, no project, no thing you ever make creatively is ever done. It's just abandoned. A song, a drawing, a picture, or whatever. You could always keep adding more, but you just need to just set it down and make some more shit later, right? So that's the lesson. It was also the funniest fucking shit show of all time because I tried the train idea and it killed half of First Platoon because I didn't have vehicles. That was really funny. And the train didn't work, so I had to remove the train, and then how I did the train track noises was a volume trigger that would play sound effects. This is a script Macho gave me that I think Web Knight originally made. So First Platoon all died, got them back in here, got rid of the train, said, all right, guys, just run across the tracks or hop down and run, whatever. So you have no train, but players are running atop a fucking train track, but it's playing fucking train noises because I didn't plan on the train thing failing. I fixed it for the next time, but that was just a funny bit. And the next time we did it, it wasn't great because the idea wasn't implemented because I didn't have time. Anyways, so moving on to the next bit. Again, sorry that we're still diving deep into this tangent, but I want to kind of walk you through how I got to the conclusion that I'm at and how I'm sort of at the point now where I need to just embrace failure and be okay, like, making an attempt that might just not be finished all the way. Because no matter what, we'll throw the stone out there, see what we can do with this timetable, and figure out what we need to do to better ourselves in order to accomplish things more reasonably, right? Then we have the op after the Bass Reeves op, which was Umbara. This is stupid. It's really cool. I'm proud of it, but it doesn't run well. It is trying to make Umbara on a map that, as far as I can tell, may not be. It's not a finished map, so it probably just isn't optimized correctly. And we're also using a bunch of assets that have 0 LODs aside from their highest resolution meshes, which means as long as it's visible, it is the highest fucking version of itself with the most amount of detail, right? But this was a collaborative process, and this was a first-hand experience with it. We learned what we could potentially do. We got some more people to come help collaborate. I borrowed some compositions from my buddy Blaze, who did some stuff, some road props, whatever. But moreover, just like, hey, do a thing here, or hey, let's try this, or hey, what do we want to do, and working on that process and refining it. I did a lot of the terrain stuff. I did a couple locations over here. Rose did this AA location. She made a city that is really fucking awesome. Unfortunately, I had to go in after the fact before posting this for everybody to put VR objects in here because these buildings don't have fucking hitboxes. We found that out the hard way, unfortunately. But collaborated. Rose made a cool ass city. That's fucking awesome. I wouldn't have had the time or energy or even thought to use these assets. But now that's an element of it, and that is a fucking feature, and that adds to the charm and style of it all. That is another collaborative process, right? We have Operation Invictus, the big train bit that I was doing. This is, let me go ahead and find it. Of course, I didn't move it out of WIP because fucking why would I? This one was an ambitious idea. I got to play with the story stuff that I wanted to play with. I got to do the train bit. That was fun. That took time. And that was, and not just because of necessarily everything at play. There was music to consider. There was dialogue and writing to consider, to write, and then perform, and then edit, blah, 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 and then editing all that shit. The problem was trying a new thing and then having to fight it. I was already talking about this earlier, but having to rotate something counterclockwise in order to fix the animation thing, that took like hours. And that was just time wasted and also energy spent not to return and inspiration lost because of the amount of finagling I had to do for one minor element. This entire mission file, though, would not have been nearly as completed or nearly high fidelity as it is. I personally think I would like to have done more stuff. I had a lot more planned that I didn't get to do because, again, planning process. But this objective would be fucking barren if I didn't have Rose and Mandown helping with it. Every other objective, literally every objective, was someone else working on stuff. This area, Rose, I did the hangar bit to connect it because that's what I was focusing on, but she made this. She made this half of the island. Mandown did this half. Mandown did rocks and ice cliffs and stuff everywhere. They both worked on more things. I think Rose did these two bases and Mandown did cliffs and stuff, whatever. And they were doing that while or after I had been fucking around with all this shit. So the mission would not have worked out on that schedule without their help and their assistance. And that was sort of the lesson learned, right? So, coming to the most recent mission that we have done, Operation Steel Pillar. This was the one I think you messaged me to ask if you could watch. I said no, and that is not because I didn't want to share, but literally because we didn't have anything made for the mission yet. And we just needed to figure that out. This mission didn't run great. High density of props. It was very laggy at times. That's a lesson learned. But we made this mission in 5 hours. Me and Rose sat down and worked on it. Got it figured out in 5 hours. I realized why it might have run shittily. I was using scaled up alpha texture decals, and I go, fuck. Anyways, but we did this, and we completed this one-shot shitpost fun mission. We're proud of the aesthetic. I call it a shitpost, but it's just because there was no planning. There's a loose bit of like context of basically Rose came up with some stuff for her briefing, and now we're like, all right, let's just kind of check the boxes on the briefing and, not worry about story beyond that. Basically, we're capturing some islands. That's about it. But we made this, and we collaborated, and we sat down in 1 hour stretch, both simultaneously working on it. I did the main island, Rose did all the other islands. But we worked together. We had a kind of a prop palette we were working on. We're using old assets that are more vague in general. Crate stacks and boxes and stuff that I've made, some things that I use in other things. But essentially just here's our pool of Legos that we'll share. Let's both try stuff and expand outwards and then work together to hone in on ideas that work with the context we're trying to build. And that leads us to today, which is planning out this whole thing. I have an ambitious idea for this. There is a story I want to tell. There is music I want to use. There's writing that I want to, things I want to write and dialogue I want to have. And I want to try my best to do all of that. And I want to try to bring more people in to help collaborate on that so that I can worry about the broad, vague shit. Here's the kind of overall bit we're trying to accomplish and be able to try and see that realized, not just by doing it all myself, but by getting people who are interested and want to make things so we can all sit down and make things. I think Hackett had to go. He was writing notes though, so that's fun. But yeah, so that's where we get today. So we're doing a fucking from scratch mission, which is holy shit. That can be a lot sometimes. And that is a I'm kind of stupid. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. Because I don't have to make a fucking entire terrain, basically. An entire Halo Bowl arena. It's fun, though, and I want to. So we're going to try and do that. But I want to get more people in on this bit and this kind of experience. Because this game, you can do so much with this game. You can do so much. It's a fucking sandbox. And I want to do stuff. But fuck, dude. I'm trying to figure out a process. And I'm trying to just plan so that I don't have to... so that I get to actually finish the ideas that I have. Because so far, my most completed condensed story was Karlach 1, my first attempt. But I fucking actually died making that because there wasn't a process. I had all the energy and motivation, and I managed to get a lot of it done. But I was so burnt out after that. And I kind of already said I would make 4 more missions after that. Which, yikes. Ooh, yikes. I'm stupid. It's self-inflicted. I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to, and I did. And I might be able to do an actual campaign at some point if I can get a process down. And a part of the process is collaboration, because that makes it so much more fun, and it takes the burden off of my own individual shoulders. And it also gives me an opportunity to, hopefully inspire people. That's been one of the greatest things that I've been told personally. By actually multiple people, is that the things that I make can be or have been inspiring to people. I post stuff in here and I'll get messages from people occasionally asking about things or whatnot, and that's such a wonderful thing to hear. And I realized that a way to perpetuate the cool creative vibes of the community is just by collaborating with fucking people. Oh, cool, that's great. Oh, that's interesting. You want to work on some stuff? Let's do some stuff. Have fun with that, basically. But yeah, so that's kind of my whole spiel done. But yeah, I'm excited. So this is a big process. This is gonna be. I've said that in the past. Oh, this is gonna be a process. No, this time we're gonna be doing a process.